Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Serena, PBS practitioner and the founder of Perfectly Abled, and today I'm going to speak about 10 of the must-dos for children that are under 5. So let's begin. The number one thing is, this is a must-have for all children under the age of 5, is potty trained. They should be potty trained. And the reason this is so important is to prevent long-term bowel issues and problems. That's number one. The second thing also, if that child is now in a school setting and there's 30 odd children, this is from year 4 to year 5, 30 odd children, you really think a teacher or a TA is going to have time to potty train that child? No. I've worked in schools. They do not have that time, nor do they have it in their diary to actually plan and potty train a child. Some schools offer specialist training and specialist support from outside to actually come in to potty train the child. However, to get onto that list, it can be a little bit tricky. In some cases, that child has to have a diagnosis, or in some cases, that child needs to have a mobility issue where it requires a little bit more work to get that child potty trained. Whereas if the child has no mobility issues, no bowel issues, then there shouldn't be an issue why that child is not potty trained entering school. Because recently, a few months ago, I think it was in August, September 2024, there was numerous news articles of many children that were ages 4 and up that were not potty trained. We need to really stop doing that, because on a real, it becomes really challenging for a teacher to now potty train your child whilst there's 30 other kids in that classroom, 20 odd kids in that classroom, or in some cases, 15 neurodiverse children in that classroom. It's very hard. It is very challenging. So please, parents, potty train your kids. Ideally, between ages 6 months and 1. That is the best time to potty train. If your child has reached 5 months and they are standing up, they are able to sit up by themselves, please use that as an opportunity and as a sign to potty train your child. I'm begging, please. As someone that used to work in schools, I'm begging. And as a PBS practitioner, please potty train your children. And this is actually serious, potty training children. That is number one. The second thing is communication. Start talking to your children. And I know a lot of people will be like, oh, I don't have time. I can't do this. I work 2 jobs. I work full time. We get it. But there are shows that can help. There are YouTube shows that can actually help, that help vocalize. There are phonics. Using phonics. Oh my gosh. Seriously, phonics are amazing. When I started working with kids and I use phonics with them, I noticed a massive difference than me saying, read this. And when I started saying like be, k, as in you, I noticed there was a massive difference. Rather than saying A, B, C, D, they didn't understand what I was getting at. But when I started doing k, yeah. Please start teaching your child phonics, start teaching your child vocabulary. It could be hi, it could be bye, it could be things that sound alike. Try that and see where it takes you. And the reason it's so important is so that when they go to school from ages 4 and up, they are able to do basic communication. It could be hi, bye, how are you? It could be the simplest thing, but it's better to start from somewhere than starting from nowhere at all. And if you've noticed your child is non-verbal and non-vocal, please put him into speech and language therapy, or try using your language, your native language, because sometimes some children pick up a native language first than English. So if it's in the sense of your child is picking up your native language, your mother tongue first, let it be that. Start with that. Start using that to communicate with their child, and wait for them to actually respond back as well. Wait for their response. And the more you do that, the more your child will start communicating, and they'll start speaking to you, and they can start speaking to other people. Starting with small words first is better than a whole long complicated sentence, because they're going to be like, what's this? I don't know what this is. They're going to be irritated. So please start off small and see where it takes you. There's also thousands of resources on YouTube. There's thousands of resources from teachers, from nurseries as well. So if you go to a nursery, if your child goes to nursery and you're wondering about their speech, you're worrying about their speech, speak to the nursery staff. They might have some resources to support you out as well. That is number 2. The third thing is the most important: eating, health and nutrition. Start putting vegetables in the diet from young. Before the age of 5, start putting them onto vegetables and fruits. Reason being, again, health benefits long term. The more you correct their diet from young, is the more it's easier when they transition into teenage years, into adulthood, and so on and so forth. It won't be a situation where that child will constantly just want like chicken nuggets and chips, for example. They would want a variety because it was shown to them from early. One thing I've noticed when I worked with one family a few months ago, I can't remember. They said to me that when they were in nursery, their kids, their toddlers, were given watermelon and I think clementines and what else? Grapes. And since nursery, they've been eating watermelon. They're still eating watermelon now, and that was 5 odd years ago. So things like that really encourage fruit and vegetable eating from young. And also, when you are eating with them or when you're eating around the house, start as a parent to have watermelon, grapes, fruit and veg whilst around the house, so that your child will see that, oh, it's not bitter, it's not nasty like my friends say it is. You know what I mean? They will start seeing you eating it and start thinking, oh, they would like some too. So use that to your advantage. Use that to help you out. Start from then on. So when you are weaning your child, start using vegetables, broccoli, different fruit and veg. I'm not a nutritionist. I don't have an idea, but please do start with basic fruit and veg like apples, grapes, watermelon, very simple fruits and veg that can easily be cut, that can easily be given to them. However, be aware of grapes, especially when whole, because they could be a choking hazard, so be aware of that. That is number 3. Number 4 is clothing, colors, designs. This one is really quite important. It's not really that important, but I'm just going to add it in anyway, in the sense of like knowing what they like from young. Give them opportunities to choose. So with neurodiverse children, I think I call it choosing, but I think it's actually called another name. But I call it choosing, where we show different visuals. We show the child three or four visuals right in front of them, and they can easily just pick whatever. Things like that. Start doing that to your children from before the ages of 5 as well. Start showing them different options, different varieties, and the reason being is so that they can like grow up to wanting to try new things without any issues, without any difficulties. So things like that is so needed, especially when it comes to colors, especially when it comes to designs, especially when it comes to toys as well, so they can be independent and have a variety of options, especially when growing older. Number 6, I think I'm on now, school and education. This one is so important. With kids, yeah, if you show them learning can be fun before the ages of 5, they won't go to school and be like, oh, I don't like learning, I don't want to be in this class, I don't like maths, I don't like English, I don't like history, I don't like this, I don't like that. They won't be like that. If you show them it can be fun, so in a sense of you playing games with them, with using maths, using counting, using English, using historical figures, you show them from young, before the ages of 5, that, oh, this can be fun to count, this can be fun to draw, it can be fun to read book, it can be fun to do this. And the reason you make it fun is so that when they are older, they will actually start loving learning. Because I'm gonna be real, I hated school when I was younger, but when I grew up and grew older, I knew that learning was actually gonna benefit me. So that's when I started to like it a bit more. Whereas now, I'm willing to try new things, shadow people, and learn a lot more than I ever was as a child. And so we have to look at that into like with toddlers and kids. It's best for them to learn when young, so that when they're older, they will retain much more information. They will be able to be like, oh, I know this because I was taught X, Y, Z many years ago. I know this information. I have this already. I have this knowledge already. Whereas it won't be kind of like second guessing for them. So when they do go to uni or go to college, they won't struggle. They'll be able to pick up information quicker and faster. And the best way to start is using things like color counters, using blocks, using whiteboard and pens. You can buy whiteboards and pens for the cheap on Amazon, eBay, and other places like that. You can also buy counters quite cheap as well. And also sound timers, showing them that there's variety with learning. And there's also other things like maybe even using balloons, using golden coins, using foil paper. There's ways that you can tailor learning to their needs, that in a way that they will enjoy it, so that when they go to school, it won't be an issue of they are struggling to learn this. It will be an issue of maybe someone is making them feel uncomfortable. It won't be like learning will be an issue, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say your child's going to have any problems with school at all. I'm not saying that. But yeah, that is definitely a key thing to teach. Number seven will be definitely on a sense of like understanding sexual health and sexual body parts. What do I mean by this, especially for a child under the age of 5? Letting them know that this area is not for anybody but them parents. That's what I'm saying. Letting them know that this area is private. Their sexual area is a private area. Letting them know from young. So the minute they start talking, they start talking. The minute they are able to walk, the minute they are able to move around, saying this area is no go. And the reason that's so important is because there has been times where I've seen a lot of articles lately where children have been molested, children have been SA'd, and it's either been in school setting or a respite setting, a place where where care and children are supposed to be paramount. But in some of those areas, it has been an issue. And another thing, this is also very important to those that are neurodiverse, and I'm not just talking about those neurodiverse children that are under the age of 5, because it's a bit different with neurodiverse children. When some neurodiverse children, their learning and development in this ages 0 to 3, when they're like 10. So it depends. But for them as well, when they're under the age of 10, that is so important to share that this area is a private area. No one can touch it. That they should at least have visuals that say this is a private area. Whereas with under the age of 5, same thing. Let them know that this is a private area, that it shouldn't be touched or anything like that. And let them be able to speak up as well. Show them if they feel uncomfortable, what to do. Show them if they feel unsafe, what to do. And the reason I say that is that not a lot of 5-year-olds are going to know what phones are. But they're going to know how to scream. They're going to know how to shout. I've seen it. I've heard it. I remember one time I worked in school, my ears were ringing. Till this day, I still have nightmares. Because the way that kid screamed, my goodness. I think what happened was he fell over or something. He fell over in the bathroom and he just started screaming. Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, teaching them how to scream. So if they feel unsafe, if they feel uncomfortable, show them. Teach them how to scream, especially if they're under the age of 5, because that is the age they're starting to go to nursery, go to preschool, go into big school. I think big school is 4. Yeah, I think reception is age 4 and 5, depending on the birth year. But yeah, that should have been number 1, but that is very important. Number 8, I would definitely say is, again, I think this is what, I don't think this one's kind of related to the children, but I would say this is more relation to parents, having emergency contacts, people that you actually trust in your circle. So if there was a situation, if, for example, you needed to go out of town, or if, for example, you needed to go away due to an appointment or an emergency meeting, you already know who you can trust that will be with your child. That is something that is so important, again, for safety reasons, and again, for safeguarding, just to make sure your child is safe regardless. That is definitely important. Another thing that's important is, I would say number 9 would be like, where are you going with your children? Are you going to places that are child safe? Are you going to places that are actively aware of safeguarding, actively aware of well-being, actively aware of mental and emotional well-being of a child? If not, please do not enter those areas. And I say that with chest, because you never know what they could do to your child. You never know what they could say to your child, and you never know what could happen within your child. So technically, number 7 through to 10 is going to be like safeguarding. It's just, safeguarding is so important. There's a lot of kids that I've seen that are just being shouted at and abused in public places because these places are not fit for children, in a sense of they are not fit for safeguarding these children. And it's not until people like me step up really and get some stuff done. Whereas, for example, if you look at the church, for example, there's so many kids that I've seen that go to churches, but the church is not safe for them. There's no neurodiverse centres for them. There's no soft play. There's nothing to really engage the child positively. You just see adults shouting at a child because they're stimming. Like, no, that child is stimming. She's stimming. She's having a sensory need. Can you leave her alone? You know what I mean? There are some people that just don't get it, but thankfully, you got people like me that are in the church that are actively making steps, which I am doing. Unfortunately, one of my steps was to go into a specific church and actually speak to the leaders, but I tried to speak to the head of the young people within that church, and I still haven't been able to have a meeting with the person concerning that. So it's going to be a bit different. I have to wait until the head of my church comes back, and then I'll speak to him properly, and then from then I'll make the moves that I need to make, because we can't be going into 2025 and people are still worrying about safety of children, where they are still in environments that are not befitting to them, that will not help them with their learning and their development, and they will not help with their spiritual learning and development. Because a lot of times people instantly think learning and development is just for school. No, it's everything. It's everything a child does. It's everything the child does, whether that's in education, whether that's in the church, whether that's out and about in the community, whether that's in shopping, whether that's in shops. Like Tesco Mobile, big ups to them. They're recently having this thing where if maybe a parent is going to Tesco Mobile, they have like a sensory station for children that are neurodiverse. That's amazing. However, that's only one out of the whole. What about the major supermarket? What are they doing for neurodiverse children? What are they doing for all the noise? What are they doing for all the issues that could happen in a supermarket? You got spillages on the floor. You got noise. You got noisy environments. You've got like checkouts that don't work. You know what I mean? A child just wants to quickly get their safe foods and leave, but because of the checkout system, they can't just leave. You know what I mean? There are so many things that even supermarkets need to look at and be like, rah, there's a lot of children that have neurodiversities. Let's see how we can adapt, how we can update, how we can make it pleasurable experience for these children, for these young people. And I would say 10, lastly, must needs for children is love and care. Like, if you say you want to have a child, you have to be ready to offer that emotional, mental, well-being, spiritual element to that child's life. You have to be there. And I mean, being alert, being aware, if they have medical conditions, knowing what the medical conditions are, knowing when to give them the medication, if they have any kind of skin conditions, knowing what time to use the ointment, or if they have any allergies, knowing what foods they are allowed to eat and what foods they can't eat. Just being aware of those things and making sure there's enough support available. So if you do have a child, whether they're neurodiverse or not, but knowing that they have conditions such as flathead or conditions such as whatever, being aware and being available and being able to help that child is the most paramount thing. Because at the end of the day, the children will rise till tomorrow. And if, for example, his needs or her needs was not met before the ages of 5, before the ages of 10, there won't be issues. And I'm going to say that with chest, because 9 times out of 10, I don't think that's the reason why a lot of children end up in care, end up in and out of prison, because something wasn't met in their childhood stage, something wasn't met in their life. And because they didn't have the tools or the equipment to be resilient and to learn themselves, because maybe they just didn't want to learn or they don't care, it becomes a problem. And I'm not blaming the parents for reasons why kids turn into whatever. I'm not blaming the parents, but there's always something missing with children like that children that go through the system. There's always something missing, there has been a lack of something. They've been unable to be resilient. They've been unable to do the needful. And all the stats can say one thing: childhood trauma, childhood this, childhood that. And in order to avoid that is to really be there, be evident, and notice what's going on with that child and being able to support that child's needs to the best of your ability with the little you have, because it's not about money. It never is about money. Sometimes it can be about time. Spending an extra hour with a child that day, spending some time counting with them, spending some time playing with them. That could make a massive difference to their future. And yeah, that's it for this video. Hopefully it's helpful. If you have any questions, do comment down below. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one soon. Bye.